Hey guys, it's week 4 of training camp for the LA Rams. We've cut down from 90 to 75 players. Want to find out who got cut? Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Cause we're back in Cali. Cali. We are back in Cali. The St. Louis Rams are now the California Rams. We're back again. Joe and I are here to talk to you guys about Hard Knocks, all things Los Angeles Rams. I got my Ram blue on. He's got a blue ring, which I just noticed. I'm just going to say that's his Los Angeles Rams blue.
Yes, this is my Star Sapphire blue.
We are talking about Hard Knocks, Season 11, Episode 4. Cuts have been made. We got to discuss who's been cut, who we think's getting cut next week.
And if we can convince Will Hayes that dinosaurs truly exist. It's all on the docket today.
It's all going to happen today. My name is Lyndsey Wegner. You guys can tweet me at Lyndsey Wegner, and I'm joined by Joe Doyle.
Hey guys, I'm Joe Doyle. You can find me at JoJo Doyle on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Now, you guys, this is technically the last week to be tweeting us, writing on YouTube, finding us on iTunes, and using your Twitter handle, hashtagging, ABTV Hard Knocks, and letting us know what you guys think about the show, and getting yourself into that giveaway that we are doing. We're giving away this amazing jersey hoodie that Joe tried on in the first episode.
Luckily, I had lost enough weight that I fit it. But it was perfect. It was like right in there.
It's phenomenal. We're also giving away a license plate holder and a signed photo by Vince Ferragamo. All you have to do is just follow us on Twitter, tweet us, let us know your thoughts. The more times you do that, the more times you get thrown in the drawing and you get to win stuff.
That's right.
That's all you have to do.
It's easy as pie.
It's pretty darn awesome.
You could tweet me and say, Joe, I hate your face, or Lyndsey, are those real eyes? and because they're just, oh my goodness, and that will enter you into the drawing.
You guys want to win. This is really, really, really cool stuff, and we've been talking about it for the last 3 weeks. This has been an amazing season, and tonight was no different. The only disappointment that we had this week was the fact that the Rams lost to the Broncos.
I know. I felt like it was going to happen. But I mean, because there was their first away game, and up in Mile High City, the air is a little bit different up there against the defending champs. They got something to prove, and it's the dress rehearsal game. So the ones are getting the most amount of playing time.
I don't think they actually played a poor game.
No, not at all.
I think they actually played a fairly good game, and especially defensively for the most part. What did you think overall?
I think overall they did pretty good. They dropped some,
the drop passes, especially at the end.
Yeah, but they really needed to convert those. I mean, but that's exactly what they're trying to do here, and that's exactly what they said in the episode is if you don't convert those passes, you're going home. And sometimes that's just the dirty part about it is you gotta make it happen or get out the door.
And we open up Hard Knocks with the offensive team meeting and the defensive team meeting, and Rob Boris, the offensive coordinator, he's still pretty positive about the whole game, where we get the defensive coordinator Greg Williams, and he's just once again ripping them and reaming them, even though they did play a fairly decent game. I mean, this tough love from him is...
It's interesting. It's interesting to see because I don't necessarily remember this in different Hard Knocks, shows. Each coach has their own coaching style, and I mean the Rams defense is definitely on point. I think one of the best in the league, so something is working. Maybe it's just him really trying to pull out the best qualities or to see if these newbies and these rookies can have what it takes. Maybe it's that. I'm not too sure. Maybe the regular season he'll, take some, like blood pressure medication and kind of calm down a little bit. Maybe.
Well, there's definitely a coach that everybody seems to get along and respect, and that's Rock Gullickson. And what I love about him is the fact that he was obviously in a similar position for the Green Bay Packers from 2006 to 2008. So Brett Favre was, working under him and with him, and actually won Coach of the Year in 2007.
Yeah.
So with the Packers, which is, obviously my pride and joy. And Brett Favre had invited him when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame at, in Green Bay. My mom and brother were actually at that game that day when all the fans came to watch Brett Favre play one more time on Lambeau Field. So it was just it was a huge deal. So to have Rock there, and then at, the induction earlier this month for Brett Favre and getting to take a few photos with him. I mean, he's just...
Yeah. I mean, what a great opportunity to get a shout out from the legend of Brett Favre, in his enshrinement day. You only have so many minutes on that podium, and there's so many people that have gone on to help, create a Hall of Famer like Brett Favre. It was really, big honor, I think, to be mentioned, during that ceremony. It was really cool for him.
And Rock's been with the Los Angeles Rams with the Rams for 8 years now. So he's been there. He's a, steady part of a team, been with Coach Fisher, so they've got a good, I think, camaraderie going. And like Coach Fisher was saying later on, when it comes to the cuts, he reaches out to Rock to send the guys in. Because he's just somebody that he can trust and knows will, give it to him straight.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I thought it was interesting because a lot of times in previous seasons, I don't think it was like that. I think people would get a call and they would come on in because they weren't around.
It wasn't during a practice. Yeah, it was almost as if they were home with their families and had to come in, which I feel like that's just so much worse. You're driving in and knowing your fate.
Yeah. It's one thing to walk 50, 75 feet to go to the coach's office, but to be like, all right, hold on, hit pause on Stranger Things. Let me get my, jacket on. Let me go to my car and then drive all the way to the facility.
Knowing.
Yeah, that it's donezo. It'd be tough.
Well, Coach Fisher talks a little bit about the game against the Chiefs and the penalties they had. And penalties mean laps.
Lots of
running.
running.
And laps and running. Exactly.
And I liked how he called out everyone's number that gets the penalty, too. He's like, this is the number that got the penalty. This is the penalty run. And I wonder if a bigger penalty induced more running. Like if you only had to run to the 25-yard line for a false start. But that personal foul, you got to run 100 yards.
Yeah, you got to do the field.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to hear about that. But they were running a lot, and they were not happy about it.
Nope. And we still see Keenum's working on his play calling and practicing the calls, which Joe tested me on last week. It's extremely difficult. None of it makes sense.
None of it.
It's not easy. It's memorizing and just constant repetition over and over and over again. And even the quarterback coach Weinke is testing him. And, they're really talking that Goff is not going to take this starting position.
I knew it. I mean, I don't want to celebrate, but I called it.
You did. And I was saying there's no way they're going to bring in a number 1 draft pick and not have him play, because history has shown that's not the case. The quarterback always starts. He's just not developing as quickly, it seems like, as they want him to.
Yeah, it's hard to pick up an offense, going from the college to the pros, but let alone an offense that goes from spread to under center. I imagine that's one thing that he's having a hard time with, and reading the defenses and still calling the plays, and he needs to gain about 15 pounds of muscle. I think that they're really protecting their investment. Because if sometimes it's out of necessity that you have to throw that number 1 pick out there just because there literally is nobody else there. And so they did have the luxury of Case, who is no Russell Wilson or is no Aaron Rodgers, but he's serviceable. He's not going to go out and make a lot of poor decisions. Certainly better than Sean Hill for the Vikings right now. So it'll be interesting. I think that, maybe we'll see him halfway through the season. Maybe we won't see him until next season. Maybe we'll see him after 2 games.
I mean, obviously, we know that worked with Aaron Rodgers being on the bench behind Brett Favre. He's come out to be a fantastic quarterback because you learn from the best. Obviously, I'm not saying that Case Keenum's the best
exactly.
quarterback at this point, but I just think that Goff has a lot of, learning to do and developing to do. And I agree with you, and something that my roommate and I actually talk about, because my roommate has season tickets to the game, and he's just like, Goff needs to gain weight. He needs to get bigger. And seeing him during the game get tossed around so much, if he had an extra 15, 20 pounds on him, he wouldn't go down so quickly.
Right. And I don't think, and I could be wrong. I'm not too sure, but I don't think he's that mobile of a guy. I certainly haven't seen him, take off.
He's not breaking the play.
Yeah, exactly. There's quarterbacks like like Dak Prescott. He has a little mobility. There's also another thin guy. Robert Griffin III. He's thin, but he has that escapability to go through. So hopefully he can, go to in and out a couple more times and get those doubles and get a couple pounds on that frame.
I also thought it was interesting that when Goff called the play wrong, Coach Boris took the heat for it. He was like, "Well, it was my fault because I wasn't in the huddle."
Yeah.
That's not your fault. He still has to know his job and know what he's doing, and no coach should be coddling him because he didn't get it right.
Agreed. I completely agree with you. The only thing I don't know is the moment before. Maybe he was having a rough go at things, and maybe there was like a little bit of, not necessarily confidence, but a little bit of kind of relief to, okay, Goff is really freaking out right now, even though he really did screw that up. Okay, this one's on me. Maybe he's not going to feel as bad. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't really seem the type of guy that's going to coddle a player, but who knows? Maybe he was going through it that practice, and he needed a little, just a breather for a hot second because he knew he screwed it up.
Well, we had a little bit of filler come in right after that. Ariel showed up at practice, the Little Mermaid.
The thirsty thought, Ariel.
For William Hayes, our fantastic defensive end, who believes in mermaids but doesn't believe in dinosaurs. No. And the poor gal, Brittany, I believe her name was, at where were they? The Dino Quest tour. She could not convince him of anything. I mean, he was like FaceTiming with Eugene Sims, and he's like, "Look, this is a dinosaur egg. This is cow dung, or not cow dung. It's dinosaur dung. But I don't believe this is it." There was no convincing him that dinosaurs existed.
Okay, Hard Knocks producers, why do you insist on every single episode enforcing the fact that these guys are dumb as rocks or fossils or whatever you want to say it? Like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, some of it I've seen in the past, some of it's really funny, but golly, that was like 10 minutes of him going through this place, which was neat. But he kept on like, "Nope, that's not real. No, I don't believe you. You believe this stuff? Nope, I'm done."
See, now I feel like that's what the snippet at the end should be when they come back and kind of do like a little, it's almost like a gag reel.
Yeah, the outtake.
Not an actual 10 minutes of time that could be used discussing a player or getting more in depth at a practice and versus talking about dinosaurs, which, I mean, I'm all for it. It's exciting. It's a moment to just kind of stop taking notes for a second, actually.
Yeah.
But
it's like, give me the
filler.
X's and O's. Yeah, give me the X's and O's. Give me the drama. Build up, backstories like Austin Hill. They're talking about Austin Hill and his daughter and getting more playing time and actually seeing the field this past game. And then, fast forwarding, they mention him near the end during, right after the cuts. Because, can I jump ahead to a little bit to Austin Hill? Austin Hill's a man. He's a grown man, and because he was like, or he was really, really nervous. One of the two, because every time Rock would be starting to walk like around him, I saw him, and especially that one time, he got up and walked directly towards Rock. I almost called him the Rock. He rocked directly towards Rock, and made eye contact, and Rock just kept walking to go talk to the other player. And then Austin Hill went back to do his thing, and I was like, man, that's pretty gutsy. You see your future coming right towards you and say, well, let's do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that's the best way to kind of approach it. You see some of the guys shying away a little bit or maybe turning the other way, where it's just like, if this is going to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I respect.
It's already been planned out. There's no stopping it.
Yeah.
You know, decisions have been made.
I had a lot of respect for Austin Hill.
I do too,
Yeah.
especially in that scene. And we'll definitely talk more about that and like the setup and the whole editing process of everything, because I thought that was really interesting too, which is obviously kind of what you're bringing up. So Skip, Pete, the running back coach, and Cush, the center, are actually talking about their kids, which is, you know, we saw Cush's kids last week and how his family has been moving around a ton trying to find a place for him. And right now it seems like he certainly does have a place with the Rams.
Yeah.
I really do feel like he's developing more and more, and in the games, and keeping Goff a little bit in line too, and trying to work with him and get him comfortable, which I think is great team camaraderie to have that. You want everyone to succeed and do well, and he wants Goff to do well because he knows he is going to be taking over a position at some point.
Yeah, and the center is really the heartbeat of that line. It's up to him to communicate all the different protections that he sees, and also communicate to the line to figure out what they need to do to kind of make Goff a little bit more comfortable, you know, in the pocket. And so I thought that was really interesting when he went over to him, and even though he didn't miss his assignment, obviously someone did, and so he went up to him and said, "Hey, what's going on? Talk to me. What do we need to do for you?" Cush isn't, after all about tank tops. He's got a little more up there to him, and I like that.
Although, you know, offensive line coach Paul Boudreau thinks he's got a little bit of dirtbag in him.
Yeah, you need that dirtbag on the line.
Like, that's anywhere else, that would be such an insult to somebody. But here, it's actually kind of good. It's a little bit of a scrap to him. But he's also got a little bit of a problem, they said, with focusing. But he's got good size. He's a good anchor for the team and can play his position well.
Yeah, you need that. You need that dirtbag style. You need to really set the tone up front. And he's the leader of that line, so he needs to do the exact same thing, set that tone.
Speaking of scrappy, let's talk about Tavon Austin.
Yes.
All 5'8" of him, or 5'9" of him, who plays like a 6'3" guy. Getting in, who did he get in? He picked a fight with William Hayes. Kind of joking play fight. And I thought it was hilarious that the defensive tackle Easley was like, "Dude, why are you so little?" Like, you're picking up, like, I'm just going to say, why are you so little? Really? That's what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Because, like, what's going to come of it, you know, except for hyping people up? But Hayes looked like by the end of it, he was like, "No, get out of my face, man. This is enough."
And obviously it was big talk this week that he signed a $42 million 4-year contract with the Rams right before Saturday's game against the Broncos.
Yeah.
Obviously they see big things for him this year. I see over 100 catches this year for him, breaking some sort of record for the Rams.
He better.
And that also means that he's a good fantasy pickup.
Yeah, you know, and speaking of fantasy, you know, this episode is brought to you by DraftKings, and football is your passion. You know all the players and teams, their strengths and weaknesses. Now put all that knowledge to the test and play for your shot at the $1 million top prize at DraftKings.com. It's just part of the $5 million in total prizes they're doling out in this Week 1 contest. DraftKings.com is the destination for one-week fantasy football. One-week fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want with the players you want. Just pick your contest, draft your players, and follow your team live. Renew old rivalries by challenging friends and family in a private league to prove that you're the superior GM, or join an existing league and go head-to-head with your friends, coworkers, and fantasy players from all across the country. Hurry to DraftKings.com now to choose your players, and you could seriously cash in Week 1. Use code BUZZ and play for free with your first deposit. That's code BUZZ to play for free for your share of the $5 million in total prizes in this Week 1 contest. Only at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com. Eligibility restrictions apply. See website for details.
So who's your sleeper pick in your fantasy this year? I know you haven't drafted yet. Neither of us have drafted.
Yeah, haven't drafted yet. You know, there's the sleepers. It's tough stuff. I don't really have an exact sleeper yet, but I might say Dak Prescott might impress.
Okay.
I'll throw that out there. Dak Prescott, I've seen a lot of him play, and I think he's better than expected. And I think there's not going to be a lot of drop off as long as he continues to get that protection that he needs. So yeah, that's my
Dak Prescott. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
guys, you heard it first.
Two quarterback leagues. You know, you don't draft him in like the first don't draft him in the first round. Yeah, or the first couple, 5 rounds. Like wait until if you need a good backup, you know, pick him up. And then, you know, see what he starts doing, and then, you know, figure out with him later.
You've got your draft on Sunday?
Yeah, draft on Saturday.
Oh, you draft on Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Draft on Saturday, yeah. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I'm going to come out and say it. I'm not drafting Tavon Austin.
No.
No. I'm not going to draft Tavon Austin.
Why?
Because, like, he continues to show a lot of... you know, he's hyped up, a lot of promise. You know, that's the word I'm looking for. He shows a lot of promise. He's got the skills and the talent, but I just don't see this offense running the way that I think that he's going to get a lot of opportunity. He hasn't proved it in the past. Like, I thought personally that the contract that he signed was a lot of money with not a lot of production. You know,
as what the coaches were saying and
right.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like, wow, they're going to have to go for it. But also, it's the best option they have right now. So they got to lock him down for some sort of money. And hopefully this is going to be a year like Russell Wilson's last year after he signed that monster contract to go out and say, I'm worth every bit of that money you just paid me. So maybe I'm wrong. But I think with Todd Gurley right there, taking a lot of the reps, hopefully, well, you know,
I mean, I think right now he is, if you're drafting, if you've got more than 8 people in your league, if you haven't drafted in the first 5, you're not getting Todd Gurley.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He's going in the first, second, third, fourth. Like there's no way that he's going to make it anywhere past that.
Yeah, and I think right now a lot of you know, like the trend in fantasy this year is leaning towards those wide receivers. But after the first 4 or 3, I think Gurley's going to start popping up. So he's not making it past the first round.
They always say wide receiver, but it always comes back down to the running backs making the points. And I like to, when I do it, I like to have, you know, a team, which for the Packers, it's like Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson, like that's unstoppable. But the problem with the Packers is that there's so many different wide receivers that Jordy Nelson could have a crappy game and Randall Cobb could have a great game.
Right.
Where with Case Keenum and Tavon Austin's probably going to have a good game. There's not really going to be any other wide receivers that are going to be having as great a game as he is, unless it's just an unlucky week.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, Tavon Austin is the undisputed #1 wide receiver on this team. 100%. I just, you know, I don't know if he's going to be able to get the opportunity to, you know, make a lot of yards after the catch, get that yak going, you know.
I'm so excited. I've got my draft this Sunday with all my coworkers, all my male coworkers from one of my bartending jobs, and we all talked crap to each other last year and talked about who we were doing, and now we're all playing together, and I'm super excited. It's my first time playing with all of them, so
nice.
I'll keep all of you posted if any of you care. You can tweet me later on this season and see how I'm doing in my fantasy football league, and let's hope that I'm kicking 7 boys' butts real bad.
Now, who's your?
It's on.
Who's a player that you're targeting? Maybe not first, but a player that you like going into it.
I really think Ezekiel Elliott is going to be a great choice. I think he's going to do well. I think he's not someone that you need to pick up right away, kind of like a mini sleeper pick. And I think he could have a really, really good season.
All right. We both went Dallas.
Yeah.
We both went Dallas. That's good stuff.
See, now if we teamed up, then you have the 2 guys together scoring double points. You know, the only time that doesn't work is when you have Eli Manning, because Eli Manning ruins everything.
It's true. I'll agree with you on that.
He ruins everything in my fantasy football. I don't ever draft him anymore.
Oh, I just thought you meant in life, but fantasy football.
Life too, pretty much. But okay, let's actually talk a little bit more about Hard Knocks, you guys. Sorry to fall off the wagon here a little bit. So we see now they jump to a couple fights breaking out in practice. Maurice hits Pharaoh Cooper. It was actually a good hit. But then Ogletree hits Cunningham, who Cunningham goes back after Ogletree because that was a nasty hit. And then the fight breaks out. Then Ogletree hits Gurley, which they all told him, you can't hit Gurley.
Yeah.
Another fight, then there's punches thrown between Chubb and at Reynolds, the running back. I mean, this was just, and this is normal.
Yeah.
This is normal in football. The guys in practice, they're not on, they don't like each other. They're against each other.
Yeah.
Until the game comes and they're rooting for their defense to stay on track or their offense to keep moving the ball forward. They don't get along during practice. So this is normal. But when it ruins your practice and it takes away from you actually getting those reps in, and these young guys that are rookies that are getting into these fights, that are taking away from opportunities to be seen and be playing, it's a waste of your time.
It is. Because the only thing that's going to come of it is you're going to break your hand on someone's helmet because those guys aren't taking their helmets off.
Throwing punches.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing that's ridiculous. Like, you know, you can't do that. You got to play smart. You have to play smart, especially going down to the wire like this, making it past the first cuts. All right, you almost have a job in the league. Don't mess it up by thinking that one guy gave you a little cheap shot.
Well, and clearly Goff's smart because he stays out of it.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh man.
It was like a little bit of a Sally moment for me. I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah, because
he tried to come off cool.
Yeah, he did, but he sounded like he was a punk. I mean, like, I understand. Now, I don't blame him.
Stay out of the fray.
Don't get hurt. You're the number one quarterback. You know, like, you know, he's talking about in college. You know, he was the man. Don't get into that. But you can't say that to your teammates like that. You got to be able. They got to think you're going to war with them. Like, you know, if all of a sudden his offensive lineman gets in a fight, if I was the offensive lineman, I would love to see Jared Goff get in the mix and push the guy and defend me, even though I'm way bigger and I don't need defending.
Because they're going to end up defending you.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about.
They protect their quarterback.
Yeah.
So if it ever came down to it, someone's going to protect him.
It's a band of brothers. You know, as cliche as that might sound, it truly is. And they got to be able to ride or die.
We did get to see Austin Hill, right? Austin Hill?
Yeah.
Okay. We did get to see him spend a little time with his girlfriend Valerie and his daughter Rylan at the aquarium. And they're, you know, so glad to see him finally play, skipping ahead a little bit. So glad to see him finally getting to play and get some, you know, catching the ball this last game. I mean, that needed to happen if he's going to stay on the team, especially against McRoberts. It's one of them's going to get cut.
Yeah.
They're both not going to make the team.
Yeah, and the room is really, you know, like full of a lot of players. They already got, you know, like Farrell Cooper's on the squad, even though he got injured. Mm-hmm. But, you know, he's going to be retained on the squad, and Tavon Austin's making it, and Kenny Britt's making it. Mm-hmm. And so there's
Brian Quick.
Mm-hmm. So that's
he had a good game.
Mm-hmm, that's 4.
So
you can't keep more than 6.
Nelson Spruce, we heard nothing of him, so pretty sure that when cuts come next week, he is going to be an easy one, as much as we were kind of rooting for him after that first monster game. But
yeah.
And we can't forget to mention, since we live in Los Angeles, $76 being spent at In-N-Out.
That is impressive. That's impressive.
I mean, hey, for 4 people?
Yeah, like those burgers are like $2, $3.
You get it.
Yeah.
Get it. So Coach Fisher mentions, like, the cuts aren't easy. You know, you're either practicing and moving forward to be better or be on the practice squad, or you're moving on to something else, or your career's done altogether. Mm-hmm. And then they talk a little bit about Tavon Austin and the business aspect kind of behind it. And like you said earlier, they're talking, he's not really as productive as this deal is worth. They're talking about money that Julio Jones is getting. And like you said, I don't think that he has the skill level that Julio Jones or Jordy Nelson, or, you know, I mean, I guess you could kind of compare him to Eric Decker a little bit.
I could compare him to Eric Decker, but Eric Decker's not the number one.
Cruz, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's really strange that you got to retain him. You got to keep the players. Maybe he's gonna have a huge, because this is what his, I think, 4th year in the league. Let me double check. Yeah, 4th year in the league. And so, you know, usually they say that the wide receivers kind of start to make the jump around like year 2, year 3. You know, maybe we had a little bit of injury problems at the beginning. Maybe this could be his breakout year and he could show us what's up. I mean,
well,
maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was predicting 100 catches this year. So
yeah, if he needs 100 catches, if he needs
to prove that deal and contract was worth it.
Mm-hmm, because
absolutely.
Next thing you know, Farrell Cooper starts flashing next season. They'll cut Tavon to save the cap space.
Yep. LaMarcus Joyner, the cornerback, who's 5'8", they were talking about that he's one of the best press coverage guys. I wrote down, I'm like, he's not Charles Woodson.
True.
Not Charles Woodson.
True.
But he's also got a little scrap in him. He got kicked out of the game, against the Chiefs for fighting in the end zone. Got fined this last week then. I don't know what the fine was, but he definitely did get fined. He was the 2009 Defensive High School Player of the Year. So, I mean, I definitely see him as being a great asset for the team, and hopefully he could be picking off passes like Charles Woodson is and making, getting touchdowns and stuff. And because of his press coverage, that's an option.
Yeah, it is.
For him.
He just needs to be available and not get kicked out of games.
And Greg Williams made a really good point saying, I have a tough time walking away from confrontation too. But you have to. Mm-hmm. During the game, you have to.
Yeah.
Don't get caught in the fray. You're taken out. You're not getting the plays. You're not getting the reps. You're not going to make the team.
And you can't help the team when you're not on the field.
Mm-hmm. And then he was pouting.
Yeah.
During practice.
Yeah.
What are you, Des Bryant? Get out of here.
Like that boy, he needs to grow a little bit more and understand that, like in preseason, maybe he's not getting reps because the coaches have seen what they needed to see. And they don't need to see his reps anymore because he's doing great. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it's the flip side. Nope, sorry, it's not going to work. But from the praise that they've gotten so far that we got to see on him, it seems like he's doing great. Let's, use this opportunity for these young bucks to fight out, that last couple spots on the roster.
But he still needs to show leadership and not sit on the sidelines and pouting and throwing his gloves and
then the coach was like, DB coach is like, that's what you're going to do?
Yeah.
That's how you're going to be?
Wilson, I think that was Coach Wilson. Right?
Yeah, and he was just like, yep, that's how I'm going to be. Like,
what are you, 5?
Yeah, this is a man's game. It's not a boy's game.
We have a little meeting led by Fisher, who's calling out Fass, and he comes in on a surfboard, with the special teams guys, and they're playing a little bit of Jeopardy.
A little brevity and tensions are high.
Bring it down a little bit. Bring some lightheartedness to it. A game. Have some fun.
Spell some
words. I was the 5th grade spelling bee champion.
Whoa.
I was.
Did you ever make the ESPN?
I can't remember what word I lost at state. But I lost at state for a word, and I can't remember what the word was. You'd think that I would remember it because it would haunt me for the rest of my existence,
Yeah, like that 1 yard line that the Seahawks couldn't get through to that second Super Bowl. Just haunting you.
So they do have, they do some spelling. We get fajita spelled wrong. We get lasagna spelled wrong. We do get quesadilla spelled correctly.
All right, here's the thing. I put you on the spot last week with that play call. Give me a word to try and spell.
Encyclopedia.
Okay, here we go. ENCYCLOPEDIA.
And then you say encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
Yes.
Yes.
Yay. He got it.
You threw that.
Ta-da.
You threw that at me, and I panicked a little bit. I got a little.
That's my word to throw out there because it's a fairly. I like to call it a 25-cent word. It's a nice, good word.
Yeah.
And it's got some tricks into it. Whew. You passed. I did not pass the play call last week, but you passed. So we get to Denver, Colorado. We see Paul McRoberts, the wide receiver who had lost his stepbrother just a few weeks earlier, hanging out with his girlfriend. They get a poem written for them. We do get to see a little bit of a downtime with everybody. They're at the Rams team hotel. We see Tavon Austin signing the contract, so excited. And when he gets to the game, he goes and hugs what is this, Kroenke?
Stan Kroenke,
Stan Kroenke, the owner, and just says, "Thank you for changing my life."
Yeah,
this is life changing for him.
And I thought that was cool. Like you gotta. The
respect.
Yeah, he's the guy that pays your bills, so get a little FaceTime with the big cheese.
And during the game, we're seeing Keenum is definitely starting. Von Miller is just taking him down.
Oh, man.
It's like, that guy's quick.
He is.
But what I did not like was Aqib Talib lowering his shoulder and just...
You know what? Okay, no, go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
What do you think?
Here's what I think. Now, he was right on the line. He was obviously going out of bounds. But and they obviously, they threw the flag, so it was a foul. However, he was not yet out of bounds. And it's the same kind of thing with, the same thing with RG3. If you're going to go out of bounds, then cut out of bounds immediately or slide. One of the two. But that boy was still in play when that hit was hit.
Don't you think that he could have done this?
No.
Instead of lower his shoulder and do it?
Who's to say he wasn't going to juke him? Preseason is true, but I don't know. I didn't have, in case got up. It was a hard hit, but he got up. So, it was right here on the shoulder pads. I felt like, unless he landed wrong or funny, that it was just a good hard
hit.
play, and remind him, get out. Don't take any yards on us. If you're gonna go out of bounds immediately, or throw the ball away or do something. He was past the line of scrimmage, so he couldn't throw the ball away at that point. But you better be ready to slide. That's the Broncos. Their defense is fierce, and you better watch out because you also might get shot in the leg.
Well, Case ended up with 8 out of 12 completions for 77 yards. Goff ended up with 4 out of 12 for 45 yards. And he just looked messy.
Yeah.
He just could not do anything, and his parents sitting there watching, and it was difficult to watch.
Yeah, and
because I don't want to see him struggling.
No, and I don't want to see him get hurt. And thankfully, they did review that play where his knee brace got caught, and
he slid, and it was
that was a little scary. But I'm glad that it was his knee brace and nothing with his knee. That's what it's there for, is to help protect it. But
that was awkward too.
Yeah,
it was like he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, I really hope that he gets it soon, because the Rams gave up a lot to go up and get him. A lot. And they could. Carson Wentz is no better off at this point. He's injured, but that was a king's ransom to get him.
We saw a lot of great defensive plays, stopping Alec Ogletree, stopping that touchdown in that first half. The defense actually coming together. Aaron Donald making plays,
man.
Cody Davis picking off the ball. For that almost in the end zone one that I can't remember who hit the Bronco, that the ball kind of flew off and Cody Davis got it.
Yeah.
But, those were some really, really great defensive, watching the defense and knowing they're doing a good job and coming together. By halftime, it was, 6-0 with 2 field goals. Let's see here. By the way, Aaron Donald in 2 years has had 38 tackles for a loss for 166 yards and 20 sacks. In 2 years.
He's a beast. There's no way around it. I can't think of a better tackle in the league right now.
He's the second best in the NFL.
Yeah. Ndamukong Suh, maybe. Probably. I know you hate him. But dadgum, he's so good. He's top 3. I won't even say top 5. He's top 3. And he's scary. He's a bad man.
So Virgil Green brought it to 6-7 with a touchdown. Zerlin got another field goal, and then in the third quarter, Hillman ended up with that touchdown for the Broncos, and that's where it stayed. There was no scoring in the fourth quarter at all. The Broncos held them from making plays. We did have LaMarcus Joyner back in, having passion and control and being excited about being back in the game. And it held that huge Bronco wide receiver. He just looked teeny next to him.
Yeah.
But pulled him down.
Yeah, that was wild. He went for the ball, and I think that it was just a matter of that Bronco receiver at that point was just trying to hold on to the ball and forget about his legs, and it worked great. Joyner showed a lot of promise, and he flashed a lot. He's going to be a force. Do
you think that Seau is going to make the team after seeing him in this last game against the Broncos?
I'm not going to say no. I think that he showed a good game the previous game. He showed an okay game, this game. But I think that there's more better than there's more positive than negative coming out of Seau's corner. I think that he could really continue to improve greatly, but I think that he's gonna make the squad at some point. whether it's in a backup position or if he clears waivers to go on to the practice squad. I think he's a good player, and I think that the Rams want to keep ties with him. I just don't know if he's ready to necessarily contribute right away.
Mm-hmm. And we got to see McRoberts and Hill both going in for repetition. And here's what I think: if somebody can be on the special teams, they're going to keep that guy over just a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. So when you see McRoberts get that punt return or the kick return, he has a better opportunity to make the team than Hill does.
Big time.
Even though Hill didn't get targeted in that last drive for that touch, which it wouldn't have mattered, but right. Didn't even make that effort, or he didn't get an opportunity. They never threw to him for that last final drive.
Yeah, and versatile players are going to be rewarded in this league. If you can do like 2, 3, 4 different things, 2, 3, 4 different positions, that's amazing. And so to be able to return those kicks, that's a very, very good thing to have on your squad and on your side.
Well, they also had Hemingway, who missed 2 catches. So that's another wide receiver on the team that's not really doing anything. So I think, these 3 guys, Hemingway, McRoberts, and Hill, are all going to be fighting for one final position, because I think they've got enough wide receivers otherwise.
Yeah, I think they do. I think that Tamarick, he also plays a little bit of tight end, but he was lining up on on the outside a lot, like the Saints use Jimmy Graham in those situations. Yeah. And so that might be the one good thing that Tamarick has going for him. Exactly, is that he has that versatility like you were speaking of. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, let's talk about cut day, since we only have a few minutes left. The thing that I loved about watching the cuts for the Rams was how understanding and compassionate Jeff Fisher was. We've seen for 11 seasons, 10 previous seasons, the cuts being made. And in my opinion, the last few seasons that we've been talking about here at AfterBuzz, they haven't been this, knowing that these people have feelings, that these guys have feelings and families and stuff. I really, really felt like they did a great job of showing how important it is to do this kindly and gracefully.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because here's the thing, who's to say that they're not going to be back in a different, capacity, whether it's on the practice squad or 3 years down the line, they could develop to a great player and then bring them back in, So I think that it's smart of Fisher to, understand that and to know that, it's not always, you don't always got to be like, all the time.
And show interest in what they're doing after. Like the Taylor Bertlett, the rookie kicker, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go back to school for sports psychology. And who was it? Brian Folkerts and Zach Colvin. Zach Colvin had actually asked if he could, potentially play on another team. And Fisher said, if you keep working hard, it's totally possible. I mean, if it doesn't happen in the next year, it's probably not going to happen. But I like them asking, because that's something I would want to know. Is it worth it for me to keep going out and trying this? Or is this a lost cause? Should I go and do something else?
Right. Because, it's good to know. It's good to get that evaluation. Maybe a year in the CFL will be good. Maybe you're just, maybe you should just be working on being a coordinator.
And as you had said earlier, we saw Hill continue to make eye contact with Rock throughout the whole cutting, montage of things, which I thought they really made it suspenseful, doing like the passes with the camera.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
Guys, and you didn't know if Rock was going to somebody, and then he'd turn, and the music, everything about it. And luckily Hill was safe. And it was interesting because Rock even asked, why do you keep looking at me?
Yeah.
Dude, you guys, you're all clear. And they said, well, you're like the Grim Reaper today.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, he really
You're
was.
bringing the bad news. We're either staying or going. So I definitely felt like the cuts this year, I felt a little bit more emotional about them. Even though I really wasn't connected to any of the players that have gotten cut so far, I felt a little bit more emotion behind it.
Yeah, I agree. And I wish that we were more connected to players. Austin Hill, I feel very connected to.
Yes, but he wasn't cut.
Right. And I'm surprised. I feel more connected to him than I thought that I previously was. I thought he was, kind of a whiner a little bit earlier on. But then I was like, oh, okay, no, this is the real deal. So, yeah.
Marquez North was the only player that I really had seen anything about previously and I don't know why, but I had him written down somewhere. And Greg Williams, it comes back to him saying, every day is an interview. It's a short turnaround. You got to get ready to play and understand that this is business. That's all that it is. It's business, and you have another week to get better. So there's your pep talk. You got to get better by next week.
And another notable cut was Quentin Couples. He got cut. He's a veteran. He's been in the league for a little bit. And I think that this was an opportunity for him to land on a different squad.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do that with those veterans, that they'll cut them early. Yeah.
He's got another opportunity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that he's, done really good in the past. So hopefully he gets another landing spot and continues to contribute.
So next week, we cut down to 53 players. They are playing in Minneapolis. They're playing the Vikings, they lost Teddy Bridgewater this week. What do you think the Rams are going to come out on top?
I think they are. I think
so
they
too.
are. I think the Vikings right now are reeling on that non-contact injury to Teddy Bridgewater, dislocated, knee with the ACL. I think the team is just kind of like, we don't know what we're going to do. And they're going to have to figure it out fast, but I don't know if it's going to be fast enough before the Rams come to town.
Who do you think's getting cut? McRoberts or Hill? I'm going to say right now, watching and seeing McRoberts go in for the special teams, McRoberts is staying, Hill is going.
I think that's true. I think that's true. I mean, unless they were just kind of throwing out McRoberts to see if he could do it.
I think this game, Saturday's game, will let us know more. Like, we can't make that prediction essentially right now because I want to see what happens in that game. Who's getting, targeted, who's making the plays, who's pushing in practice to get it.
No, I agree. Hill's closer to the bubble. That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, we are bringing you the final episode of Hard Knocks next week. So if you want to talk to us about your predictions or anything you think is going on, and remember, we've got that giveaway, so make sure that you're following us on Twitter and tweeting us. Joe, where can they find you and talk to you about who's getting cut, who's staying, all the things Hard Knocks?
Hit me up at JoJo Doyle, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Tweet me, guys. Do it.
And this is Lyndsey here. You guys can tweet me, Instagram me, Facebook me, all things at Lyndsey Wegner, LYNDSEYWEGNER, or my blog, lyndseyWegner.blogspot.com. We'll see you next week for the final Hard Knocks.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.